Yeah, welcome everybody. Hello to the first presentation of the day at our Proton Marginalia collab event here at the Bridge 48 Studios. Big thanks to the Bridge 48 Studio crew for having us and supporting us with the lights and everything. So I'm Michael from Proton. I run the business development and also the newest publishing arm of Proton. And I have the honor of moderating or navigating this first panel here with two very special guests from the publishing industry, actually. And yeah, I'm going to hand it over to you to quickly introduce each of you with a few sentences.
Okay, so my name is Irene Bauza. I'm the VP of Operations at Unison. And I ended up here from being an artist. Then I started understanding that I like publishing. So I lived in the US, I came back, I started studying law, and I started working actually at an electronic music record label called Blanco y Negro as the director of publishing. And I was recruited by this guy right here. I joined Unison because I believed in the concept from the beginning.
Cool. Well, I did the reverse story than Irene. I studied law, actually, and then I realized I didn't want to be a lawyer before finishing my studies, which I finished my lacunously, but that's another story. So then I went into the culture sector and music management, and after the years, I found the intersection between music and copyrights and law, which was like music copyrights. So that's when we decided to found Unison, and I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO right now.
Amazing, thanks for being here today and for introducing yourselves. We also want to know actually who's in the room with us, so maybe we do a quick show of hands. Any artists in the room? Okay, that was to be expected. Any label managers? I know one guy doesn't have the hand up, my friend. Okay, an advanced question. Anybody who has registered their music with a collection society?
Okay, knowledge in the room, that's good. That's
all right. Yeah, in advance of this panel or talk, I tried to do the impossible and actually, in accordance with you guys, create a graphic that captures all of the revenue flows in the music industry. I found it to be quite complex and nearly impossible, but I did want to put it up here as a bit of a guide for us throughout this talk. It might be a little bit small for people over there, but we're going to refer back to it every now and then. So I did want to put it up. I do want to give a bit of context about where Proton sits on this graphic. So Proton, as some or most of you know, is a record label distributor, which means we mostly deal with the recording side of it, the master recording side of it. Okay, so we sit here alongside with Labelworks, The Orchard, I'm sure you know a bunch of other distributors. Today we're really going to focus on the left side of it, which is related to publishing rights or the composition of the music. So yeah, Proton is more on the right side, but actually Unison really works on the publishing composition side of it. So maybe Jordi, question for you. I want to just ask, so what's the vision behind Unison? How did you start it, and what does Unison do essentially?
Yeah, sure, thanks. So, as I said, I come from law, but I've been always in the music industry for more than 25 years now. And it was around 2012, 2013 that we decided with some colleagues and partners to create an independent publishing company in Spain. At that time, back in the day, in Spain, all the publishing was super traditional, really hardcore, you know, not very artist friendly. So we thought, oh, that's an opportunity. We heard, you know, about Cobalt, things that were happening in the US, more artist friendly. So we said, okay, let's do it. So we went for it, and basically we crashed on a wall that was the traditional society, collection society in Spain, because we were trying to do innovative things, but we didn't get any visibility. We were not getting the reports. We were not getting the money. We were reporting gigs, but we were not getting anything. Actually, my business partner and co-founder Eric gave me as a present the first letter that we got, the first statement that we got from our collection society at the time, which amazingly, you know, we get the first letter, we said like, okay, there's going to be some royalties for our clients, brilliant. We opened the letter, It was a fucking blank label. There was nothing written. So basically, we were in this situation when the European Union, the European Commission, decided to liberalize the market of copyright management. Up until then, it was a monopolistic situation where in every country only could be one that needed a license by the government. So it was not possible to actually go and compete with them. But the European Commission decided to liberalize. And in 2016, we could actually apply the European law that liberalized. And we said, okay, that's going to be our fight. And we closed the independent publishing company and we founded Unison. From this perspective, from being a publisher ourselves, and then we went and said, okay, so who would be the best person to run these from an operation perspective, who has the knowledge of being an artist, being a publisher, having a degree in law, and then there was only one option. It was Irene, so Irene was the first employee back in the day. How many years ago was that?
8, it's going to be about 8, yeah.
So yeah, that's a bit the story behind it, and we have like a digital platform that you can manage your copyright registration. We have better fees. You can see all the information. We are based on the principles of efficiency and transparency through technology, which is what we were looking for back in the day and we could not find in the traditional system.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I was wondering if maybe we even take a step back, also like related to the left side of the graphic. Because some people might not know what a collection society even is, or an independent management entity. Like what's the role of that entity or that collection society in the whole chain of the music rights?
Cool. I'll get that and then I'll pass the word to the real expert on copyright. But so the collection societies are the organizations that collect the monies that the usage of music generates. What that means? A composer composes a song that is then distributed into a digital platform, who we call the user. So for us, the users are Spotify, YouTube, broadcasters, radios. The user can be a promoter when they put like on a kit, right? So the collection societies are the organizations that negotiate the licenses with the users. So we negotiate with Spotify, with YouTube, global deals for collections, all that. And we collect the money that the copyrights of our clients, the artists and the independent publishers, generate, and we pass them on to our clients. So our job is to collect and distribute. And the traditional societies are called CMOs, collective management organizations, and us, the new type of CMOs, if you want to call it this way, we are called IMEs, independent management entities, or RMEs, rights management entities. And that was the name that the European Commission gave to companies like us, that they said, okay, we need competition, but there's going to be certain requirements. You need to be independent, so we cannot be owned or controlled by right holders, to actually try to solve one of the problems that the traditional ones have, because the traditional societies, they are owned by their members, right? And this sounds, oh, that's cool, that's good, the artists own. But what happens is that they are owned and the voting rights are proportional to the market share that you have in the organization. Who has the biggest market share? Universal, Warner, and Sony. It's definitely not you as an artist who has the biggest market share in the industry. So then the European Commission said, that's a clear conflict of interest, so we have to be independent. We cannot be owned or controlled by right holders, so that we stay, as a service provider without any bias in any way or another.
Yeah, thanks for putting that into context. By the way, I forgot to mention at the beginning, if anybody has a question throughout the entire talk, please just raise your hand. We want to make it as interactive as possible and not wait with questions until the end, because there might be a lot of questions. So Elena, maybe a question for you. So what actually is a publishing right? Like when is it generated? Can you maybe guide us through an example of maybe a songwriter going into a studio with a producer, who has the songwriting credits, who has the publishing rights, and what does this mostly look like in electronic music?
In electronic music, actually, there's a lot of artists, songwriters, because they don't realize, or they do realize that they do music and they do the sound recording, which is the actual recording of the music, but they also compose the actual. I guess you can think about it as a split, how do you say it? A score or the melody, the lyrics, the chords, all that is where the publishing comes in. So in the electronic music, most of you who are in electronic music are both. You are a producer of electronic music, and you are a composer of electronic music. And that composing part is the part where the publishing starts.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that. And it's true. Like I'm from Berlin, and I'm part of a studio community, and actually there's a lot of electronic music producers, and they don't know that they actually have this entire other side of rights, because when you're in the studio making beats, you're also composing, right? Like you're writing the melodies, the harmonies, and you own that intellectual property behind each track, and therefore the royalties also belong to you.
Exactly, because most of them just stay on the distributor part, so they just get the money from the distributor, and they think, well, that's all the money that I'm going to get. Well, no, if you join a collective society or an INE, hopefully, you can get the other part, the composing part of the music.
So what if I go to the studio and I don't even talk about this with my collaborators in the studio, and we put out a track together? Like, how does it work if you have no contract before? Who owns the songwriting credits then?
Well, obviously, the ideal story is you go to the studio, you do the track, and you do the music with your collaborators, and you agree on what we call the split sheet, which tells you, okay, so I collaborated with the music, and you collaborated with the lyrics and melody. How do we split it? There's no set rule of who gets how much. They gotta agree between the authors, but that's the ideal part. Normally, let's be honest, how many people do here split sheets? In your...
I do.
You do? Exactly. It's normally something that gets talked to after the track is already completely done, and the moment of the truth comes in, where you have to say, okay, if this song makes money, how much have you contributed on it? How much do you think you're entitled to for the whole song? So.
And then I'm sure I know at least 10 people here in the room who have done a remix. So it's a very common thing in electronic music and beyond. So as a remixer, do I own a publishing right by default, or how does it work?
Normally the remixer, because it's based on a previous work, a previous song, normally it's very rarely that the remixer will get publishing. If he's a good negotiator with the publishing company that owns the original song, maybe can get a percentage, but it's not the regular happenstance or the regular thing that happens. Normally, it's they just get the fee for doing the remix, and that's about it from the master side. So
yeah, it depends sometimes on the power of negotiation that the person has. Obviously, if someone comes to you because they want you to do a remix, then you are in the sort of like advantage position of saying, okay, cool, I want to do it, and that's my fee, and that's my percentage that I want of copyright on this one. But it will depend. If it's, it's more like a service and you're looking to do remixes and you say, hey, I've done this remix, I love your track, they probably will say, okay, that's fantastic, maybe I'll give you some money, or maybe just okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've personally found it sometimes more beneficial as a remixer when I do remixes myself, and I'm not a big artist at all. And I could maybe ask for 200 euros as an advance or a fee, or I could ask for 50% of the publishing rights. I found it to be more beneficial, because if the song does get played a lot at festivals and radios, I actually make potentially more from it. Which leads me to the next question. Maybe, I don't know who's going to answer that one, but so where does the publishing royalty actually, where is it generated in terms of radio plays or festivals? What's a common place or situation where publishing royalties even get generated in the first place?
Well, like Jordi said before, anytime the song is played on a public space, like it could be here somebody DJing a song that you composed, you're supposed to. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. You're supposed to get money for the performance rights. every time your music gets played on the radio, or it gets even performed at a festival, or any time that you can hear your music without having a copy, or even if you buy a copy, which is the side of the mechanical rights, if you buy a copy of a vinyl or something like that, you're supposed to get paid in the publishing side.
Yeah, and then I think talking about streams specifically, I think a lot of people think
Yeah, I
that...
forgot about that. How
Yeah,
could
no,
I forget about the streaming?
It's on my list. Yeah, so I think so many people think streaming only pays on the master recording side.
No.
Can you shine some light
Yeah,
on
that too. Also, every time that your music gets played on Spotify, Deezer, YouTube, and every time somebody purchases, a DJ purchases a song on Beatport or any other time where you actually download for X amount of euros or dollars or whatever, that creates a royalty for the publishing, for the composer.
Would you like to add something? Or?
No, yeah, just that, like we mentioned, obviously Beatport, that it's really important, I guess, for the electronic music sector, and for that we have like global license to collect. And I wanted to also explain something following what Irene said. So all this money that is collected, right? The traditional societies, like the leaders, they collect from broadcasting, from the bars, from all these places, and they distribute what they know that belongs to someone, right? You can imagine who are the best identified works, right? But then there's a massive pot of money that sits in an account that they say that they don't know who they should be giving it to, because they don't know the owner of the song. That's what we call the black boxes. And every society has a black box, right? Or an account. We call it black box, just to give it a name. These amounts of money, which is about $1 billion euros per year globally, it's like a varied figure that, according to Marginalia and several reports, think tank and different ones, it's roughly this amount. Then after 4 years of sitting there, it gets redistributed based on market share. You remember the market share thing, right? And who has the market share? The Universal Unison and the big guys, right? Not the independents, right? So this is a structural, unjust situation that has been going on, and it's important, I think, to flag it up, because if you're like with a society that has the majors in them, then you know where all your money is going to go, all the unidentified workers.
Yeah, thanks. And I think it highlights the importance of really making sure your catalog is registered and that you're collecting those royalties that are owed to you, so that they don't get paid out to the major labels, right? Okay, let's maybe dive into a bit of a more complex case. It's something we receive a lot of requests about at Proton from record labels, from artists also, cover versions. So what's legal, what's illegal, what's the gray area? Anything you can share here on the panel?
Normally for cover versions, you don't have to ask for permission. In the ideal part, you would ask for permission, but normally you don't have to ask for permission, but you cannot get any publishing out of a cover song, because you can only get the part of the masters. So the right.
The master recording?
The master recording. If you record a cover and you say that you put it out, you can only get the money from the master recording, not the publishing side.
Okay, I see. So because that's how I understood it, if I arranged a song exactly the same way as the original composition and I re-record it entirely, so can I put it out on streaming and then Beatport or not?
Yes, you could, but it has to be exactly the same, because that's the line between has it been changed. If it's been changed, we go to another type of right, which is the transformation right. And then if you transform the original song, then you have to ask for permission.
Okay, thanks for explaining. Oh, question.
Just to make sure that I'm understanding this covers topic. Just to make sure that I understand this covers topic, does that mean that if I, for example, record a cover of Billie Jean in my own style, and I upload that to platforms or I sell it on Bandcamp, I will get recording rights, but whoever owns the song Billie Jean will get publishing rights through my version as well?
Correct. So it would be, I don't.
I don't think it's
Did he
Michael
write
Jackson
Michael
anymore.
Jackson? Or was it Quincy Jones? I don't know. Whoever wrote it, and the publishing company that owns that, which I believe right now it's Sony.
So that means that there's no incidents in which me making a recording of another song that's been written by somebody else that can't be categorized as theft. Because the recording is mine, but the song is not.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from a distribution point of view, because we get this all the time, it's very important to get the songwriting credits correct.
Exactly.
So depending on what distributor you use, I'm sure they have a composer or songwriting credit section.
So that the publishing rights go to the right person.
Correct.
Exactly. I'm not sure if it's just
because
for...
then, if you didn't do that, then you would be liable, because you would be stealing the author rights from the original authors.
I do have a question though, actually. So, do the songwriting credits on Spotify actually determine where the money flows, or is it just about displaying the correct songwriter, but the money still flows properly due to like ISRC codes and metadata?
He knows what to ask, doesn't he? It's very important that the distribution credits are correct, because that's what societies and INIs like us use to match. We also use other codes if we have them. If we have an ISRC in the registration, some societies let you put the ISRC on the registration, some societies don't. If we have another code to match, awesome. But if we don't have it, we're based on the credits, and it's called the metadata. Everything that's written down of the whoever wrote it, or the record label, or the release date, that's called metadata, and it's super important that the metadata is correct.
Yeah, here now we're getting into the most boring part of all of it, but
Awesome.
it's
What are
super
you talking
important. No, I know that it's fun for us, for the copyright nerds, but I understand that not for an electronic music producer, it's not the most exciting subject, but it's really important, and it's not that difficult. Like, when you create a song, you need to have, and you distribute it, you need to have like a code for the master, for the recording, which is the ISRC, and a code for your composition, as an author, which is the ISWC. And it's important that you take care, when you register your songs and you distribute them through your digital distributor, that you put all these data in. Because this is just a few minutes of paying attention to it, but then it will benefit through the life of the song. And equally, if you fuck it up, pardon my French, when you do that, it might come and bite your ass later on, and you will lose money if you don't do it. So, you've had a lot of fun creating, you've had a lot of fun recording, you will have a lot of fun then celebrating. Just have this period of like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, where maybe it's not super exciting, but do it, because that will ensure that you will get the money that it's owed to you.
Also, no, I'm sorry. You start talking about metadata, and I get excited. Also, make sure, because we have, like, me as an artist, I was called Irene B, but my real name is Irene Bauza. Make sure in the artist name you can have your Irene B, but in the composition, if you have your real name, that is super important, because my IPI, which is another code, it's like my ID for it as a songwriter, only has sometimes it can have artist name, but my real name will always be there. So if you put a credit as a songwriter, make sure you put your real name, not use your artist name.
And now that we've introduced IPI, so we're going to do like a very quick IPI, the creator ID, your international passport as a creator. Then the song, you compose a song, then it gets an ISWC. So IPI for you as a composer, ISWC for the composition, and then ISRC for every time you record it. You can record many covers, right? And a song can have like 3,000 covers, and then you would have 3,000 ISRCs for one ISWC. So IPI, ISWC, ISRC. And now we can go back to a more fast.
Absolutely, no, thanks for explaining. There was a question. Yeah.
So, would that apply to something? So let's say I create a track and something is
So it was asked if you include a sample of an actual record, so like a sample of an audio file, right, like a record, would it be the same thing? I want to try and answer, and I think it's a very different thing, because at that point you do need permission from the label, you need remix rights, and I think at that point you would also need permission from the publisher if it taps into the sound recording side of it. Correct?
Yeah, correct. Unless you actually replay the sample, then you would only need the publishing side, you wouldn't need the master side. But you would have to replay it, which is called an interpolation, when you replay a sample.
So essentially nothing would come out of the one recording, like one WAV file, right? Like you wouldn't take any stem or like anything that previously got recorded. Everything you redo, and then it's arranged exactly the same way as the original musical work, then it's good to go, to my understanding. Another question?
Yeah, hi. I wanted to ask, like, nowadays that you can recreate like samples with AI, and they are like almost one-to-one. And I've seen like some big DJs making like TikTok reels that, yeah, I found this great sample, like this great vocal hook, and then they put it to Suno, and then they recreate the vocal hook, and then they release it. So I'm wondering, like, can you actually do that? And like, what is the legal standpoint? Like, if I find a cool sample like this, recreate with AI, that sounds the same, but it's not the same.
The hot topic.
Oh boy.
I mean, maybe we can simplify.
If you go to a chord and it sounds the same, it's the same, right? I mean, if you say, okay, no, it's actually not the original recording of Michael Jackson, but it's the voice of Michael Jackson, which is being reproduced by AI, the same song, the same whatever, then it's the same, right? I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? If you cannot tell the difference. If it's different, then you still need to quote whoever was the composer of that, because you're just changing an existing composition. You might get away if it's sounding different or not having to deal with the recording, right? Because it's a different recording, if you want to call it this way. But you will still have to deal with the fact that you have to credit whoever was like and I remember I was once involved some years ago in a case, and it's a good example for that. That there was this German band that in the 90s used a sampler of a flamenco guy from Andalusia without telling him, right? That was the 90s. The song did alright, did well, but it was not a global hit. In the 2010s, Coca-Cola decided that wanted this song for a US campaign paying $300,000 for it. And when the clearance was going on, they said like, oh fuck, this sampler was not clear. They had to go back, rightfully so, to the composer who was in very poor health, so we dealt with his son and helped him out. And he managed to get 25% of the copyrights of the song, not only for the Coca-Cola, but for back from the 90s, right? Because they used this sample that was crucial for the song, and it was like taking a recording, putting it there without permission, and that was the consequence. Obviously, there was a lot of money involved, and therefore, everyone wanted to reach an agreement, right? That's an example of using a sample without communicating, and then something happening 20 years later that can come back and be bad for you.
Yeah, super insightful, thanks. And speaking about getting money from the past, so maybe a question for Elena. If people here in the room have been producing and writing songs essentially for a number of years and they've never dealt with publishing, is all that money lost, or is there a way to get some of the money back?
Okay, another hot topic. Well, like Jordi said, if it's been over 4 years, forget about it. But in the case of streaming, it could even be a shorter term. Because depending on the DSP or the user, the platform, they have a set amount of time that you can, we call it backclaim. So we do several backclaims a year, then we go back and we say, okay, whatever was played in 2025, in January 2025. Now we have a registration. Is there a possibility that that was played in 2025 to get it back? And it's possible. But depending on the platform's terms and conditions, basically. Not all of the platforms have the same amount of time that you can go back. And some of them have shorter terms and some of them have longer terms.
Yeah, thanks for explaining. Can you also in any way comment on the amount you can potentially collect for, let's say, a very big festival in Europe, or maybe a radio play on, I don't know, BBC or Radio France or something? Is there any range you can give us?
You will never get me to say that.
Not on record.
I would say that Irene hates this question.
This question is like...
because it's like, it's almost impossible. I mean, the size, the price of the tickets, you know, where so many variables that it makes it almost impossible. And it will be different if you play in Barcelona to a festival that is like 50,000 capacity, to a festival of 10,000 capacity. It will depend so many things. The same with the
streaming.
With the streaming, right? They say, oh no, it's that amount per stream for Spotify. Excuse me, for what? For which plan of Spotify? Which country? You know, it's like there's not such an average. And we have, you know, in our clients, we have all sorts of clients. Some clients have a bigger audience on freemium type of, and freemium gives you less because there's less money in premium. Premium gives you more. So if your audience is in premium, then you will get more money per play. So, I mean, it's a great question because it allows us to explain that whoever tells you, you know, Spotify pays that much per stream is like, but for what, right? So it's almost like saying nothing, right?
Absolutely, thanks for explaining, and I understand. Okay, so speaking about like festivals in different countries, for example, though, how does money flow internationally? So let's say I'm with GEMA, which is the collection society in Germany, right? And my song gets played at Tomorrowland. How would the money get to me? How long does it take?
Yeah, so for offline rights, which is anything that's not streaming, that we don't have a global deal or a multi-territorial deal, which means we only deal with the DSP for a set amount of territories instead of the traditional way of doing it is the local society will take care of only the local, so GEMA will only take care of Germany. For the offline rights, we have to trust the society in the local society to collect in that territory and send it to us. So we have a set of reciprocal agreements. In our case, it's not. We have reciprocal agreements with some collecting societies, and we have unilateral agreements with other societies where they will represent our catalog. So if one of our clients plays a big festival in Germany, we will ask the GEMA and say, hey, one of our clients has played in this big festival, and this is the set list, send us the money. Normally, ideally, it would be them without having to do anything, but sometimes we have to claim it and say, okay, this is the set list, this is where it was played, now give me the money.
Yeah, and for us it was crucial to cover that in the sense that we knew that the other big societies wouldn't be necessarily very proactive on that, so we have an international team that its job, the team, is just to make sure that we report to all the societies, all the offline activity of our clients, and make sure that, you know, they are informed and they will claim for that, and remind them that they have to pay these monies for these concerts that happen there. And if the concerts happen in Spain, we collect directly because we are in Spain. We deal directly with the promoters.
Yeah, thanks for explaining. So yeah, I think we're also like slowly coming towards an end, but one question I wanted to ask is, so as a person here in the audience, either affiliated with Proton or also not affiliated with Proton, what could be like a first step if I have never heard about publishing, but I do want to check if it's possible for me to collect some money, and I might be in a different country, maybe not Spain. What would be the first step?
Unison?
Well, just to
in
collect
general?
publishing in general,
Collect-
yeah.
You have to join either a collecting society or an IME. Because if you've composed music, if you guys have just put it out through the distributor, through Proton, but you have also composed the music, you're owed money, and you can join a collecting society or an IME for them to collect your money.
Or you can work with a good, do your research and work with a good publisher, independent publisher or rights admin that help you out
Correct.
with the registrations and with everything.
Like Proton.
But, yeah. So like I'm sure you've heard a lot of stories about publishers and all that. There are good publishers, bad publishers. There are good labels, bad labels. There are good societies, bad societies, right? At the end of the day is what is that it's offering you, it's working for you, it's doing the job that they are saying that they're doing for the amount of money that it's worth, that you pay to them or to us or whoever. And then if you have like a good publisher, it's fantastic because they will work for you and they will do a good job to help you out. If you are with a bad publisher, it's going to be a shit show and they're just going to sit on your copyrights doing nothing, right? So I think that your options are go with a good publisher, register with a society for sure, or an RME. And we have a lot of clients, like the beauty of the new European regulation is that it gives you complete freedom to choose whatever setup you want. So for example, you are like a German composer and DJ that performs a lot in Germany. You do a lot of gigs, but you have global digital reach out. Then probably the best setup for you is to be with GEMA for Germany offline, and then be with someone like us or another for global digital. Because GEMA does not do global digital. They work with other societies, they go through another intermediary, which is nice, I believe, and they do pan-European, but they do Latin America for another one. So you would, on your case, I would recommend that, but obviously every one of you has his or her own reality as a composer or as an artist, and you need to take the time again to, maybe it's not what you want to do in the music industry, but you need to know a little bit about that, so put a bit of effort at the beginning, just to make sure that you give it to a good publisher, a good CMO, and then you can forget about it. But take the effort of figuring out what is the best setup for you. You have a question?
Thank you. So it's more of a hypothetical scenario, assuming I would go to a festival, and it's like a huge festival, I don't know, Solomon's playing, I'm there in the crowd, and he's playing my track, and I'm super excited, wow, I take a video, and my track is registered, I have a publisher, a year later, I get the sheet, and I see there's nothing. Is there anything I can do, other than public shaming Solomon, or?
No, probably Solomon didn't have anything to do with it, I don't think that Solomon is creating the track list himself, or like. And you want to answer this one, but you can ask for it.
Yeah. So probably either the promoter or Solomon himself, they will ask him for a set list. But in the electronic music world, I don't know how many DJs do we have here. We have a lot of DJs, probably. How many people have actually filled up a set list of their set? 1, 2, 3. So that's the reality. The reality is probably your money is sitting somewhere in the unidentified. But you can go to either if you're walking with a publisher, ideally you would go to the publisher and say, hey, I went to this festival and my music was being played, and I have the video proof and everything. And the publisher will go to the society and say, hey, by the way, my client's music has been in the set list and he hasn't seen anything. So they can go back, as long as it hasn't been 4 years, and get that money for them.
Yeah, I think that proactivity is always the best, right? So if you are there super excited, my song is still played, the day after, just drop an email, to your publisher and say, hey, I was in this concert, so maybe it's in the set list for all the tour, right? And Because one song in one festival, you don't know how much it can be, but maybe if it's played, over a year in a whole, tour, then it could be some money. And whatever money it is, it's your money. So it's
Also,
it's a
I
franchise.
wouldn't wait. Like Jordi said, the next day that you hear it, contact your publisher.
You should
If
do it
you
when
wait a
you're on
year,
the floor.
it may be there and it may not. So if they say next day, hey, by the way, they can already go even before the collecting society or the collecting entity that has to collect in that place and say, by the way, the song was played in the festival.
And that's something that we took into account when we developed the platform on that. And if you're a client of ours, for example, you can self-report these type of things. You have like a way of, in the platform, let us know what it is, and your client manager then will make sure that pays attention and tracks that.
And just one thing to add, I think the issues with DJs not submitting set lists is also because there's no incentive for them, right? Like they don't get a share of the royalties that are gonna get paid out, but I don't know if that would also be the solution. It's probably just better music recognition technology or better way of tracking what's played, right?
Yeah, but they also might be playing their own songs and they don't know their own money, and they can also put their song in the playlist. So yeah, I guess.
I mean, we're working. We've been working for years as well with companies that develop technology to try to identify set lists, right? And we've done pilot with Sequence, with DMAT, now with Polo, and all of those are companies that are trying, and obviously Pioneer with DJ Monitor, a big one for music recognition systems in the electronic music world. They have a deal with Pioneer where in some desks it's already embedded that it generates playlists, and then we get that. So we're trying. We're part of an association called the Association for Electronic Music, AFEM, and those are the type of things that we discuss there, like how we can improve on recognition, how we can make sure that we reduce as much as possible the situation that you were describing, right? And that we pick up on it, without you having to tell us, and that we make sure that the money goes to the right people. So, yeah, it's like, and with technology, more and more it's advancing faster, like with any other area. So we're very hopeful that we'll have like better MRT systems to recognize usage of music.
Very exciting and great question. There was one more question over there. Yeah.
I wanted to ask, what is the measure of proof that proves that this intellectual property belongs to the artist before anything is signed?
What is the
I didn't quite get the question.
The measure of proof before the song gets released, for example. Most of the songs are being played unreleased. Right?
the major proof that something is yours, or the something is that
Right.
there's the theory, which is you have to go and copyright the song, but the automatic protection is there once you create it. The protection is there as soon as you create that song and you put it out in the world. The protection is there. So the only thing that you have to do is, if anybody steals it, right, is you have to have as much proof as possible.
So
if you have the master, like the master session, but that's just proof. The protection is automatic. The moment that you put it out, is yours. But if somebody else steals it, and you have to go to court, or you have to have proof that it's yours, meaning the other person won't have that proof, and you will.
And this can be you register with your society or something
That's
that
one.
that proves,
Copyright.
or you send yourself an email with your master or something like that. It's what Irene was saying, that the law says that the only need to be a creator is to create, right? So you are the owner of your creation from the very moment of creating it. Then it's your question,
When you
how
externalize
prove
it.
that, right? how I prove that? Then you need to find like ways. There's like a intellectual property registry. Like it's a fucking pain in the ass to go and register like every song in the intellectual property registry and all that. But if you register your song, you know, you compose it, register with your society or with your R&E immediately, you know, and if then someone comes and like a year later, 3 months later, a week later, it's like, well, no, guy, I composed that before. And also nowadays you can have proofs by having your stems or whatever, or whatever records of composition you have. All of that.
Master sessions are time-stamped in your, I don't know what you use. I was going to say Pro Tools, but that's probably too far out. Logic or time-stamp. So.
All right, we're a little bit over time already. I don't know if there's one final question maybe. Otherwise, I would say we wrap it up. Thanks so much for joining me here. We have another panel coming up in around 10 minutes. It's Natasha from Proton moderating the panel with Elif, Musumeci and Furcoat on the topic Making It Without Losing It. So feel free to stick around, and if you have questions about publishing, come up to Irene and Jordi. They have the entire Unison team here, and also if you have a lot of catalog at Proton as an artist, you can also come up to me or Natasha, because we do have a collaboration and can publish your works. Thanks.